Very good evening. You're watching Free Press Journal live on YouTube and Twitter. I am Afrida Rahman Ali. Joining me today is Anand Venkatanarayanan, who is a co-founder and chief technology officer at DeepStrat, which is a New Delhi-based strategic consultancy and think tank that specializes in cybersecurity. We want to understand the Sanchar app, the Sanchar Saathi app, and the rollback that the government has now announced from the perspective of public policy and governance and the rules that are set in terms of usage of technology in this country. There are a number of questions that now crop up. First, after the announcement, and then the rollback. Let me welcome Mr. Anand Venkatanarayanan joining us this evening. Thank you so much, Anand, and
Thank you,
welcome.
Frida.
Let's
Glad to
start
be
with
here.
the basic. My pleasure entirely. I want to begin with the very basic issue. I mean, as a close observer of what just happened, how are you reading this? First, this announcement that drew a lot of flack for the government, and then the sudden announcement of a rollback.
I think the rollback points out to a specific problem. The specific problem is that they did not know what they were doing. And hence,
Mhm,
any person who looked at it closely can understand that the app has no correlation with cybercrime, particularly
mhm.
in the form in which the directive was issued, which is mandatory installation. So,
No, this is
ob-
something big. You're saying it had no correlation with cybercrime, whereas it was sold to the public as a measure that is being taken precisely for cybersecurity and safety. So
correct.
that was a smoke screen, is it? Let's
Yeah,
clarify that first.
that is exactly what I say because it is like saying there may be a million causes for a particular problem, but this is not even anything close to a significant or noteworthy cause.
And do you think that was exposed or busted in any way
I
that this
think,
rollback had to happen?
yeah, I think people like all the online commentary and the commentary about media kind of made people question whether is this has correlation with that, and it was quite
Mm,
obvious even to not very informed people that it is not. And I think that is what
mhm.
led the government to say this is not the battle I want to fight at this point in time, and essentially rolled it back.
Yeah, but this is again interesting because in Hindi they say ye public hai ye sab janti hai. Was there an underestimation of how much the public can question, how much the media can question these sort of measures, and how, unless it is foolproof, whatever your strategy is, you cannot just package it in some other way and sell it. It will be questioned.
Correct. I mean, see, Afrida, let's also understand cybercrime has been now a persistent problem for most of the
Mhm,
public now for 25 years. 2020 COVID is when
mhm,
it really peaked, right?
mhm.
But so it is not as if that this is something people don't understand. If you just
Yeah.
randomly throw a stone in any place in this country, you there is a good chance that you will hit a person who's either been defrauded or who knows his close friends who's been defrauded by cybercrime. And
Mhm,
everyone knows how these schemes work now. It is just that none of these schemes have like so people intuitively understand that this has got nothing to do with the other.
mhm, mhm.
They may not be able to
I'm going to.
articulate it. They may not be able to
Mhm.
articulate it, but it's kind of like you can get an intuitive feeling that this has got no correlation with that.
Yeah. Which is why, I wanted to have this conversation. Let's also understand that what the government's new clarification says, and I'm going to just put out for our viewers the Free Press Journal article that the government has clearly withdrawn its mandate for mobile manufacturers to pre install the Sanchar app on new smartphones. This decision ostensibly follows a lot of backlash and privacy concerns. Now, I want to come to the point of privacy. The Ministry of Communication cited the app's increasing acceptance with 1.4 crore users as the reason for reversal. Now, I didn't understand this. I mean, how do you explain this? What, according to you, is the official reason cited for the reversal?
Okay, I don't know. They just don't want to acknowledge the fact that they had to withdraw it, and
Hmm.
maybe their PR comms must have told you have to put some positive spin to it. And the only
Hmm.
positive spin they can put on that is, well,
Hmm.
1.4 crore people downloaded it. Like, what else can you write?
Hmm. 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 Yeah. So the pre-installation mandatory has been removed. The pre-installation part is off the table now.
Correct,
That is what it is, right? Now, so
correct.
Does that mean that it's status quo, or does that mean that the government has to a certain extent achieved what it wanted to achieve, because there were, after all, that many takers for the government's point of view about cyber safety?
Okay, so let us ask a very different question. Uh, what is the stated purpose of the app even before this mandated pre-installation thing came? The stated purpose is actually pretty simple, which is if you lose your phone or if your phone got
Hmm,
stolen, you just have to
hmm,
report it the IMEI so that it
hmm,
is barred for service not only with your
hmm,
telecom provider but with every other telecom provider in the country. That's it,
hmm,
right? So if you go back and ask a simple question,
hmm,
how many thefts really happen all over the country where people lose their phones to to a theft guy? Are we saying it's
hmm,
1.4 crores? That suddenly happened magically yesterday.
hmm, 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 hmm,
So there is a distinction here between
hmm,
people downloading an app for a curiosity reason versus
hmm,
people
hmm,
actually using the app for its stated purpose.
hmm, hmm,
So I think that is
hmm,
something that we have to be very cognizant about, unless and until, of course,
hmm,
we now come back and say 1.4 crore
hmm,
people lost their phones yesterday and used the app to report stuff.
hmm, hmm.
Or
No, no, what
basically
you're
they want
saying
to
is
explore it.
interesting. Yeah, I do get it. I mean, some of it is, of course, precautionary. That if a precautionary measure is made available to you, you want to avail it. What
Correct.
you are saying is the proportion of this problem is so small that to come up with this, and what I'm putting out right now is the original order, which
Uh-huh.
said compliance report due in 120 days, right?
Correct.
And I mean, of course, it says it's in order to safeguard the citizens from buying non genuine handsets and enabling easy reporting of suspected misuse of telecom resources, all of that.
Uh-huh.
Uh, do you think somewhere, the proportion issue, the proportion argument that you're making, that, after all, how many thefts, how many. So, somewhere that did not, the people who bought this or who downloaded it did not look at it that way. Clearly, they were takers for it.
Correct. And they were essentially saying that, look, people, see, let's also think about magical remedies and potions. Yeah. Uh,
Hmm,
you can sell a magical remedy and potion to any person who thinks they have a risk of some disease. Like you
hmm,
can say in a winter, you go and say, boss, if you drink this, then you will not get cold. People are going to download it
hmm,
and drink it,
hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so there are two distinct problems to it. The distinct problem is cyber crime and safety from cyber crime is a bigger problem for most people. Let us acknowledge that
Mhm.
straight away, right? There is not a single person
Mm,
whom I know in my circle who's not been impacted by it. Yeah. And
mm,
then someone comes and tells, and this is India where
mm,
people attach a lot of importance to what the government announces. If someone comes and
mm,
says, look, this is a free stuff, you can report it, you can get some stuff out of it, people are going to download it.
mm,
Does it mean they're going to
mm,
report it? Probably not.
mm,
It's
mm.
actually as simple and as straightforward as that.
Yeah. No, I take that point, but at the same time, uh, the fact that, now you are saying that is it then a toss up for any individual to understand that to what extent is your privacy more important as opposed to a theft, as opposed to reporting a fraud in this app, are you willing to a certain extent to compromise with your own
So
privacy?
let us break it up
Was
into
that the toss
pieces.
up, and how does that change now?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So let us break it up into pieces, right? Um, how do you report a lost mobile phone? You have to know the
Hmm.
mobile phone's IMEI. That is number one,
Mhm.
right? If
Mm,
you already lost your mobile phone, you're asking someone else to
mm,
report it on your behalf, right?
mm,
And IMEI numbers are supposed to be sensitive. In fact, they're so sensitive
mhm,
that your operator will not, neither Android
mm.
or iOS, does not allow third-party apps access to it. It's one
Yeah.
of the most sensitive pieces of data as per the in the telecom circles. Your
Mhm,
IMEI, which is your mobile handset ID, your
mhm,
IMSI, which is your SIM card ID, are one of the
mhm,
most sensitive pieces of data. No third-party app
mm,
under any circumstances has any kind of access to it. Period.
mhm,
Okay.
mm,
The
mm.
only apps that have access to these two sensitive pieces of data is your phone app itself, which is what they call carrier app, the default
Okay.
installed carrier app, right? And
Mm,
when you're essentially lodging a
mm,
complaint to the police, obviously you're not revealing that IMEI to some random person, right? Some
mm,
state organ because you have lost a phone for which you had suffered some, I don't know, damage, physical, mental, emotional. You want recourse, and you're essentially
mm,
revealing that only under that kind of a circumstance or situation. So that is the proportional
mm,
part, right?
mm,
But on the contrary, if I come and
mm,
tell you, you show me your IMEI for every app, you're
mm,
not going to like it. And the reason why you're not going to like it is because the carrier knows it is one of the most significantly important piece of information. So they never give it to a third party app. Yeah. So in this particular case, even if you look at the carrier option, there is a very clear
mm,
proportional argument here. You don't want to reveal your sensitive data unless you suffered
mm,
some kind of a loss for which you
mm.
need recourse, for which you need to reveal that sensitive data. That is the proportional part here. Okay, and I'll give another simple example.
Mm,
Let us say, I'm just again making it hypothetical. Let us say you have 15
mm,
lakh rupees of cash in your house.
mm,
You don't want to
mm,
reveal it to every person in the world unless you got really
mm,
thefted out of it. In
mm,
which case, you don't have a problem going and telling to the cop that, look, I had kept 15 lakhs of money in my home, jewelry, whatever, it got
mm, mm,
thefted. So instinctively, you know that there are some things that you don't want other people to know. But
mm,
you don't have a
mm,
problem revealing that if you had suffered or if you believe that there is a scope of damage that could come to that piece of thing. That is really the proportional
mm,
part. Now,
mm,
there is nothing, no problem I foresee that a
mm,
person who has lost his IMEI or a letter or a spouse or whoever wants to download this and report it as part of the protocol where they believe that the stolen handset can't be reused in some other operator's phone. If they want to do it, I don't see a proportional privacy problem, right? But what the root thing essentially did was it says, I want to have access to this piece of data, whether you like it or not, under all circumstances,
mm,
continuously and totally. The the distinction here is so disproportionate,
mm,
and that is the reason why people are upset.
mm, mm. And to think that this information which you as an expert have would not percolate to the masses was also being short-sighted, isn't it? Obviously, hell would be raised. I mean, today I am informed, thanks to you. You have enlightened me about this particular aspect. When the matter
Uh-huh.
came up, obviously people would want to find out.
Correct,
And people will find out with probably a very basic Google search
correct.
on what access does it give
What
you.
access does it mean?
So,
Yeah,
yeah. But then coming back to the privacy question, Anand, again, people are not satisfied because, the intent, now that it is exposed, if you were going to do it so brazenly and then roll back, uh, what are the measures? I mean, where all are we exposed? And there are also those of us, there are the people who are saying that anyway, you have downloaded so many apps, but probably they are not aware of the fact that those apps do not have access to your sensitive data, which only the carrier has. So
correct,
it's not as if
correct,
all the apps that you have downloaded has full
correct,
access to
correct,
everything that is going on in your phone. So
correct,
that sort of misleads people to believe, क्योंकि बोला
correct. And
जाता है
that is
इसमें क्या है, इसमें क्या है, आप
correct,
तो कितने apps आपने download कर
correct.
रखे हैं.
So I will give you a simple example. Why did carriers stop exposing IMEI and IMSI, which is
Hmm,
the most interesting piece of I would say technology restriction. It came because
hmm,
of loan apps.
hmm.
You are aware of the Chinese loan apps problem that plagued a lot of people,
Yeah.
correct? Right? And
Yeah.
so the loan apps would typically extract IMEI and IMSI on Android phones
Hmm,
and
hmm,
then use it to determine uh, what you are doing across multiple websites to basically fingerprint and profile
hmm,
you, right?
hmm,
So
hmm,
the modus operandi in the Chinese loan apps was they would release
hmm,
about 40 to 50 apps, Rummy app,
hmm,
Guruji app, astrology app, and whatnot, right?
hmm,
And
hmm, hmm,
all these apps would collect your IMEI and MSI. And then
hmm,
because IMEI and IMSI are static identifiers that are very fixed to your phone and
hmm,
your SIM card
hmm,
provider, they
hmm,
then they can actually figure out who you are, what are your vulnerabilities, and precisely target you for a loan to appeal
hmm,
it. And then they will of course track you across multiple, I would say, jurisdictions, sometimes states, harass you, and all that kind of stuff. So this is
hmm,
like this was a very common problem on 2018, 2019, just not
hmm,
related to loan apps, but a whole bunch of other apps, fingerprinting and profiling.
hmm,
Because
Mhm.
these IMEI and IMSA are static identifiers which can identify you wherever you want, wherever you go in an app.
Mhm.
These were
Mhm.
restricted. And 2019,
Mhm.
Google rolled out this stuff saying that these are so sensitive, I will not give you no matter who you are.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we are talking about privacy legislation, not like a law, but a career
Mhm.
informed decision of these operating system vendors who saw a
Mhm.
lot of abuse happening and then
Yeah.
essentially said,
Hey, there was.
enough is enough,
Mhm.
and then pushed it back from 2019 onwards. So in reality, one of the reasons why this was a very problematic notification was
Mhm.
it is not about some harm that people will think has will happen and then stopped it. It is a
Mhm.
harm that happened for a very long time, and then they put a bunch of restrictions saying that okay, this harm enough is enough, we are not going to allow this to happen again. And the government is now coming and saying that, you know what, I should not be in that harm list because I'm government. I want
Mhm.
complete, total, permanent access out of proportion, access to this
And
particular to
trust.
sensitive,
And trust.
and you have to
And
trust
you
me under
can't
all
trust. Yeah.
circumstances,
Yeah.
right? So this is what someone once referred as like, what's the point really? I mean, it is like a forced marriage, and now you're saying I can't get out.
Mm.
And their argument is, oh, but what about Google? But it's a very different. I mean, see, the operating system layer works on variable levels of trust, and
Mm.
carrier grade only carrier grade apps are allowed access to
Mm.
these pieces of information, so that they are very very clear. This is Google. Apple historically has not even ever exposed this data. Like Google at least exposed this two pieces of sensitive data until 2019, Android 10 tak, like they were doing it.
Mm.
Apple
Mm.
historically has never exposed this data to anyone ever.
Mm.
So what you now had is the direction went to Xiaomi, I think Samsung, which are Android OS providers, and Apple. And one party had never exposed it. The other parties essentially had a
Are
history of
guilty.
exposing
Mm.
it and then doing it.
Mm.
So in effect, you are essentially rolling back all the proven evidences of harm which led to this kind of practices
Mm.
under the gaze of cybersecurity. So it just made no sense to people who are even slightly informed.
Mm. Mm.
And
No,
obviously, you
I
have to
get
roll
it.
it back because you have not thought about it.
Yeah. Let's face it, there was also a lot of political backlash, and I'm putting out here one of the statements that says something like the mandate earlier is a blatant
Uh huh.
assault on our privacy freedom, and allowing this will enable the government to potentially have the power to spy on
Correct.
our calls, text, location. This is surveillance at its worst, and the government will have the power to track. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this sort of, because again, no, let's face it, I mean, those who have that platform and some of these politicians who have large following have also done their bit to provoke that thinking, because this sounds so alarmist that, probably it forced people
To think
to
about it.
think
Yeah,
along those
yeah.
lines.
But I will
Yeah.
tell you, in general, why the alarmist is right this time. Right?
Mm.
Let's face it. Right?
Yeah.
Uh, in any modern operating system, in a smartphone operating
Mm.
system, you have what is called the operating system layer, the root layer as they call it, and the
Mm.
application layer. Right?
Mm.
The uh, you can put an app on the root layer. So, for instance, your phone
Mm.
app or your
Mm.
location app, the Google, I mean, some
Mm.
of the inbuilt apps actually have full access to the operating system, right? You can't delete them. Like some of the apps that
Mm.
you see on Samsung or in Xiaomi and all, you can't delete them even if you want to, right? For instance, so those are called root apps. Root apps enjoy a much higher level of privilege compared to the deletable, uninstallable installable apps, right? So when you're essentially putting a mandate which says that I want this app to be part of the pre-installed, undeletable, undisableable, you're essentially saying that this Sanchar Saathi app is going to be a root app with this root permissions, which it can do anything. And then when you go look at the permission list, the permission list is pretty similar to a malware. It's
Wow.
way beyond what you would expect a lost IMEI reporting, phishing
Mm.
reporting, or
So,
a
do you
call
think
log
there are
reporting
two
to be.
levels? Yeah, no, no. I want to you to finish the malware point, but before that, there are two things where the government rule got exposed. first this entire smoke screen about how this is for your security and safety, uh, whereas many said this is surveillance. And the second, what you just mentioned about uh, how it cannot be disabled. The
It cannot be
minister comes
disabled.
out and says, "आप uninstall कर लीजिए." वो भी गलत था. That was also
Correct. Yeah, that was
misinformation.
misplaced. That was
That's
misinformation
a
because the directive
huge
said
blunder.
that was,
How
the
can you have
directive
a
clearly said
minister of communication come out and say, "नहीं फिर आप इसको uninstall कर दीजिए." Now you're saying it was this, it was not something that you could disenable,
correct. The directive was
and
very
that also
clear.
got exposed.
Yeah, the directive was very clear that it can't be that it can't be uninstalled and it can't be disabled.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for no, I'm saying for the minister to say that you can disable it, it's not
Yeah.
compulsory. All the newspaper carried headlines saying it's not compulsory.
Yeah.
That was also misinformation coming
Misinformation. Yeah.
from the highest office of this department. I mean, so if the trust is what you're demanding, this is not how trust is built,
Trust is
frankly.
done.
Yeah,
Correct.
this is actually fodder for mistrust, I would say.
Correct. And so this is the larger problem in the sense that it is not. I'm not denying the fact that theft happens on smartphones. Okay, it
Hmm,
happens quite a lot in the same metro area where I live in.
hmm,
I'm not
hmm,
denying the fact that the right way to report a lost phone is by telling an IMEI, right? I mean, there
hmm,
is a web portal or by someone else, you can do all that.
hmm,
I don't have
hmm,
a problem with that. But
hmm,
to go back and say you have no choice than to do that is a problem.
yeah. Hmm,
And the argument here is also very misplaced. And I'll tell you why.
hmm, hmm,
What they were essentially saying is that the reason why it has to be on the phone is because
hmm,
you can check when you buy
hmm.
the phone whether it has been reported as stolen,
Theft or not. Hmm,
right? But you can do it on a portal.
hmm,
You can do it on a portal. I mean, any Android app or an iOS app, you can just find the IMEI after buying the phone. Yeah, right. And you
hmm,
will only know about the IMEI after you buy the phone.
hmm,
Is a wrong
hmm,
argument because if you buy the phone, the package has that IMEI sticker on top of it.
hmm,
Like if you
hmm.
really notice the sticker, a properly
Yeah.
packaged phone, it has the IMEI sticker on it. And you can
Hmm,
nowadays use a smart QR code to read it and figure out is it what it is. So there are hundreds and thousands of very proportional, reasonable ways to achieve the same thing without going to this extreme measures of undeletable, uninstallable kind of a
yeah.
model.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, I want to also, quickly couple of last two questions. One about the earlier announcement about WhatsApp. Can you give me
Hmm.
clarity on that? Because there was another rule that was rolled out just before this that
Correct.
said, your WhatsApp, you can't now use it in multiple phones.
Uh-huh.
You can't share devices.
Uh-huh.
That diktat also, is it in any way connected to safety, or there again now because we are suspect, now we have to question
So
everything.
I will tell you how fraudsters work. If we have some time, we can discuss it. Maybe 2 minutes, if you have
Yeah,
time.
2 minutes,
Yeah,
sure.
few
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah. See, fraudsters typically contact victims over WhatsApp, and when
Hmm.
cops investigate it, they often find
Hmm.
uh, the number to whom the WhatsApp number shows and who is actually
Hmm.
using WhatsApp are completely unrelated parties. There are
Hmm.
exceptional amount of cases where we had come across when we do research on
Hmm.
cybercrime that
Hmm.
owner of the number is very different than the operator who operates that WhatsApp number because they just basically
Hmm.
link it using OTP and move on in life, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that is a persistent problem. Let's acknowledge that. And we have seen
Hmm.
enough cases on the public domain where the owner of the number has no idea, particularly old citizens, that there is a
Hmm.
WhatsApp running on top of it because maybe someone called them, they just basically give the WhatsApp OTP once and they forgot all about it.
Hmm.
There is no
Hmm.
crime on the person who owned the number, but by some reason a WhatsApp is running on them and they don't know about it and is used by cybercrime. So there is
Hmm.
a definite disconnect between ownership of the number and who's using WhatsApp on that number, right? It's a pattern that we see on the field, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
only for that these guys came back and said, oh, you know what, in order to avoid that problem you need to link the sim has to always keep checking WhatsApp. WhatsApp has to basically not just do OTP thing, it has to constantly keep checking for the sim. And if there is multi-device, you have to log out from the screen like every 4 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever you call it, right? But if you
Hmm.
really look back and think about the problem, and how
Hmm.
many people use WhatsApp as a criminals,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You're talking about a very small subset of population. So the problem there is the government believes that every WhatsApp user is a potential criminal. That is not how legal jurisdiction
No, no, did
law
I
works.
understand you right? You're saying the WhatsApp users are a small subset of population.
No, no, no. What I'm
Or
saying is
smart.
the people who
Ah,
use WhatsApp for doing
hmm.
cybercrime as a
Ah, okay.
percentage of the WhatsApp population is much, much smaller.
Hmm. Okay.
So it is like coming and saying, look, everyone has a smartphone in India. I'm pretty sure a
Hmm.
small portion of the people who have a phone call and scam people.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Doesn't mean that you basically roll out a role which impacts every single person who has a phone.
Hmm. Hmm.
By saying go and check in with the Thana officer, just go to the Thana and say show me all the call logs every day. You don't do that because we call it proportionality, right? Right.
Hmm.
So when you
Hmm.
roll out a role
Hmm.
which essentially impacts a large section of people,
Hmm. Hmm.
because a very small portion of the population who's using WhatsApp is doing cybercrime, that's a
Hmm.
proportionality problem. Because you a lot of people have built businesses on top of WhatsApp business,
Yeah, there's a
right?
WhatsApp business app also. There's a
Business app,
separate.
right?
Yeah.
And most of the people, like some of the D2C brands and B2B brands, AI runs WhatsApp accounts. They're not sim linked. Okay. Hello, she left. Okay, we just lost her.
I'm very much there. I was just taking a
Okay.
note from someone.
Okay.
Carry on, carry on.
So,
Yeah.
so, so it is like a lot of the brands have built businesses on top of WhatsApp, and in most
Hmm.
of the cases, AI sends you messages. Like when you go and
Hmm.
say, "Look, I want a WhatsApp notification when a flight landed." It is not a human coming and typing and sitting and doing it, right? So
Hmm.
there is no SIM binding there, right? So if you look at the spectrum of use cases, what WhatsApp has enabled across the spectrum,
Hmm.
and how many
Hmm.
percentage of the population is involved in doing cybercrime by that ownership difference on top of it, you'll probably find a minuscule portion. So
Hmm.
in order to ensure that a
So, what
minuscule
is the
population,
intent there then? What is the intent there? Because then you'll have to answer that question as well.
the intent there is again it is a wrong way of looking at how to solve cybercrime. Cybercrime does not happen only because of the WhatsApp. The biggest problem in cybercrime is well, I would say the government never cared about stopping the
Hmm.
identity market
But
which
then the
was
government
about to.
might argue and say, let's start from somewhere. The cleanup must start from somewhere. I mean,
Yeah,
what's the
so
harm if you're
it is
starting to
like
do
coming and
this?
saying when you have a big toilet around the house and then there is a
Hmm.
small puddle in a tumbler in your house. Let's start from the puddle in your tumbler
Hmm.
in the house. Like that's a very wrong way of looking at it, right? You have an
Hmm.
elephant walking around and then there is a small
Hmm.
rat somewhere in the house. Would you address the elephant or you would address the rat?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it is just probably completely misdirected in terms of uh, I would say uh, energy.
Okay. Hmm. Because
And
you
then
know
what
the
you're also going to impact is you're also going to impact a whole bunch of businesses that has been built on WhatsApp. You're going to have a whole bunch of
that's what I was saying. A
inconveniences.
WhatsApp business is now a big thing. A lot of
Big thing,
people
yeah. So you're going to
are
basically
using
bring it all
WhatsApp.
down. You're going to bring it all
Hmm.
down because of this. So this is
Hmm.
when you make a public policy argument, you have to weigh the pros and cons of every single decision that you make, because every decision you're going to create winners and losers. You need to have a framework to think about, okay, how many people it's going to impact, how many people it's going to benefit, what's the trade-off. I
Mm,
don't think they
mm.
ever did any
What's the
trade-offs.
trade-off? Yeah. No, no, that's a very important point because even in this, you made it sound as if the collateral damage that you
Is much
create is
higher
far greater and that outweighs the benefit that you are trying to show.
to show.
And
Correct,
nobody is questioning it. I mean, even in that case, there should have been questions raised, which
correct.
people didn't as much. And now, because
They
you
didn't much.
said, I mean, before in our conversation, that it is also something that needs to be questioned, I brought it up. But
Okay.
net net, let's understand: do the concerns remain then? The tracking, the IMEI surveillance, and the data access. Uh, After all,
If it is not a
yeah.
mandated route app, no.
Okay. And you also said something about Apple never revealing, and the other brands that you named have been guilty. Is there a fair assessment that therefore Apple is, because there are a lot of Apple users who might be watching us, is a better option for privacy? That narrative there is some truth to it. There's some
There is a lot
merit
of
to
truth
that.
to it, and there is a lot of truth to it. Of late, it is a bit edgy, but there's still a lot of truth to it.
Okay. On that positive note, thank you so much, Anand, for joining us. You've enlightened us on a lot of issues, and it's a
Thank you.
pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for
Thanks.
the
Let's
chance
continue with
to talk to
other
your
issues
viewers.
as they come. We will contact and have more conversations on this as well. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank
much.
you, Frida.
Okay. Well, with that, winding up this conversation, continue to like and share this content if you like it, and subscribe to Free Press Journal if you want more such content. Thanks for watching.